Check one, two, three. Hey everybody, it's Michael Helms, also known as Michael the Sound Guy, and this is the Location Sound Podcast. You know, each episode we talk with location sound mixers, boom ops, and other industry pros about the various aspects of recording sound on location, whether it's for feature and independent films, TV commercials, interviews, any time where dialogue from actors is recorded. I started my career in the recording studios in New York City with some of the big artists back in the day, and later on projects for networks like HBO, Sci-Fi Channel, and the Cartoon Network. As time went by, I got out of the studio and began working in production sound. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, thanks for joining us. And don't forget, for a limited time, Sound Devices is offering 25% off all MixPre plugins. And that includes the Ambisonics plugin, Musician plugin, and the Mix Assist plugin. I've been using the Mix Assist and it's been a nice addition. Just visit sounddevices.com and use promo code LOCATIONSOUNDPODCAST at checkout to get your discount. Okay, my guest today is a production sound mixer based out of Cologne, Germany. Please welcome Mike Gillig.
Hello, Michael. Nice to be here. Thanks for an invitation. I'm a big fan of the show, so I'm very happy to be here.
Well, thanks for being on the show. All right, Mike, I know things are a little bit different where you are working in Germany, but when you are working as a production sound mixer on set, the kit is usually provided by the production company. So tell us some of the gear that you normally use.
Yeah, it's very different from what I understand America, where all you guys have your own equipment, like your own mixer bag and stuff like that. In the niche that I'm working for television here in Germany, it's different because the origin of the whole work in television came from the state channels. Like forever, we had two channels. That's the organization of the regional public service broadcasters. So we have like, for England, it's like BBC. So we have here in Germany, we have ARD, for example. And when the private channels appear in the 80s, they just copied the whole workflow. So normal TV crew is like 3-person. It's like a cameraman, a sound guy or camera assistant. Is my job. And like a producer or director. So there are 2 people for the technical stuff and 1 for the content. So when you go out or get hired, you normally get hired by a production company or a cameraman you know and work with. So the cameraman or the production company provide the gear. It's like a tradition. It's like coming from the original creation of TV in Germany. So every day I work, I have a different kit. So you always have to adapt to the new kit you have. And I'm having a variety of stuff that I have to deal with and have to know. Like I have to know all sound devices mixers, like from 302 to 688, all of them. I have to work with Zoom, H4, F4, F8, or very early in my career, there were lots of SQN. I don't know if you know them. It's a British company. They have like SQN, a 3-channel mixer, and SQN4, like a stereo 4-channel mixer. And of course, we have all different wireless systems you can imagine. Because Germany naturally is a Sennheiser land, I call it, yeah. So we have all the Sennheiser stuff, of course, like from G2, G3, G4, DX6000, EK 2000, but also British stuff like Audio Limited or Audio Wireless, Micron, and very, very rarely Lectrosonics. So it's sometimes very difficult to get a new mixer in the morning, set up everything properly, because you never know who had it in the day before. Maybe someone screwed up, missed some settings or changed cables. I don't know. So I have to check everything in the morning.
That's very interesting. Now, do you also use Timecode when you're working on set?
Timecode appeared in the production field that I work like maybe 3 years ago with Tentacles. You know them. They're very famous. They're coming from Cologne. It's a Cologne company. So they're local guys here in the town. So, of course, this made a huge impact. And it began when we were shooting like with the FS7 or main camera. Sound always goes to camera, like 80% of the time. I don't record. I send the sound to camera. It's recorded in the camera. And then we had like second camera, like a DSLR, like smaller Sony DSLRs or Nikon. And then they are like with tentacles, they are like synced in timecode. But I don't have to provide timecode or anything normally.
You also said that besides doing sound, oftentimes you're also being a camera assistant as well.
That's like the tradition that came from the older days, that you are doing not just the sound, but you're doing work like first AC, second AC, key grip, or gaffer even. So you help your cameraman to set up a nice set, have light, have everything ready, and then you shoot. Then the cameraman just takes the camera, do camera work, and you do sound then. But this is changing a bit now because now we are developing more into the look of British and American television. Microphones are now more hidden, not in plain sight. And we do record now more and more, like in the mixer, like the traditional work you guys do over there. So now it's more a challenge also for sound, and I like it very much that way.
Okay. Yeah, it's wonderful when all you have to worry about is the sound.
Yeah, that's sometimes that it's enough to worry, but normally I have to worry about other things too.
Well, let's talk about some of the shows that you've worked on. There was one where you worked with celebrities who slipped into a role as a school teacher. So tell us a little bit about that project.
Yeah, that's a project that I personally liked very much last year. I had the opportunity to meet like celebrities that I admired as a kid already, like show masters, we call them here, like I don't know, people that are for 30 years in front of the camera and really like veteran presenter and big shows. And I met him, and he was a very nice person, so it was a good experience, and I liked it very much. And even I didn't mix the show, but I did utility for sound on that show. So we had to wire up like 20 kids, hidden mics, and a teacher, and then the celebrity had to run like 2-hour class for the students.
So it was all wireless?
Yeah, all wireless, and we had a mixer sitting on a huge digital Yamaha console, mixing the sound live. And then the video feed and the sound feed directly got to a server where everything was recorded together.
All right. Now, well, there's another one. You worked on a Caribbean cruise tour for a travel show. So tell us about that one.
Yeah, that was very early in my career. It was a very nice trip. We had like a not too big cruise ship from a French company. They have like holiday clubs all over the world. So they have also 1 or 2 ships at that time. And we did like a Caribbean tour. So we were like traveling on the ship, showing the passengers and showing the events they could do on the ship, and showing all the locations that they are getting from day to day, and all the stuff they did on land. Then they like tours with buses and motorboats and stuff. So it was really nice because of the weather and all Caribbean flair. And yeah, it was really nice.
Okay. So what was the audio setup you had to work with on that?
Oh, very basic, I think. It was like 2 wireless, like a sound device mixer. I think it was 4-2 or 5-2, and a boom. Very basic.
And you're just following everybody around, and you have a host?
No, we didn't have a host. We had some different passengers. We were covering what they were doing on the day, and showing a day of the captain, what his job is on the ship and stuff like that.
Okay. Now, how long was this trip?
I think it was about 2 weeks.
Did you get to enjoy the cruise much, or was it working all day, every day?
It was working every day, all day, but in the end, there was always time for a drink or enjoy the night or the stars. And there was one night when the ship was like going back and be on the open sea. Normally, there were like 50, 60 people at the club, like drinking and having fun. And this night we were only 4 people because everybody was sick, lying on their bed in the cabin. And so we had everything for ourselves. It was very strange, but funny. Even we had to plan to film the sunrise, and everybody overslept the sunrise. So no sunrise that day on camera.
All right. Well, now you also worked on, I think, Ninja Warrior. So tell us a little bit about what you did on that project.
Yeah, this year I worked on Ninja Warriors, like the team edition. We were filming like the preparation of the ninjas and like the hero shots, we call it, when they turn like into the camera with arms crossed, and doing the interviews when their run is finished. So that was very interesting because these are very extreme athletes, and it was very interesting to see it live and how they prepare, and it was very, very good.
Okay. Now, did you put a wireless mic on them or was it a boom?
No, it was just a boom because everything had to be really quick. Because there was not much time between the different runs of each ninja, so we just like shoulder camera and boom and quick and dirty, what we call it here.
We call it run and gun.
Yeah, like that, running gun, yeah.
Well, so far in your career, you said how long you've been doing sound?
Okay, I was always a very musical person. When I was very young, I started like DJing, organizing parties with my school friends at the time. And with the money that we made from organizing parties, we bought like sound and light equipment and started our own like party renting service when we were all like 17 or 18 years. So we rented our stuff out every weekend to different parties. And yeah, I liked it very much. So when I got older, I knew, okay, I can't work in an office. I'm not an office type. I did it part-time because I had to finance my school, and this was this audio engineering school. So I financed it by working at an office, but it was horrible for me. So I knew, okay, I'm going to sound and music, not to an office. When I graduated from school, I wanted to be a music production mixer in studios, but there weren't many studios around at that time. So I thought, okay, you won't find a job. And then I decided to go to the radio because we had a big radio station close to where I was living. But they wouldn't hire me this year, so I had to wait for another year to get a job there. And in the meantime, I saw a newspaper ad of a production company that was running like a corporate channel for a big German bank. So it was like a small TV station just for one bank, for all the employees of the bank. So I was very interested in it and took an internship there. And then I found out that there were a lot of opportunities to work in sound because they had like Pro Tools running and they had like ENG work to do and live recording on a TV studio with wireless mics. And so I thought, okay, that's a nice place. I can do sound here too. So let's give it a try. And I was taking the internship. I was developing very quickly to become a reliable worker there. So I dropped out of internship and got self-employed. And over the time, I met there the first freelance camera guys that are working there. And they started asking me, okay, Mike, on the weekend, I'm doing television. So how about you join me for the first jobs outside of this corporate bank stuff that was very boring anyway. So they said, okay, let's come with me on weekend. We do real television and you can make money and it's nice and more exciting. And yeah, so I ended up doing TV. And the company even got broke later. So it was a really nice transition for me to the freelance market in television.
That's very interesting. So this bank had all this production available for its employees?
It was like a learning channel for the employees because they had like every 3 months they had new products, like new credits, new, I don't know, saving accounts or like stuff that you can buy in or like be part of and put your money on different products they have. Like they changed a lot of their portfolio and they have tried to communicate it with the TV channel. But in the end, it turned out nobody working in the real bank had any time to watch this. So it was all just for nothing. And so the channel got closed.
Oh, interesting. Well, out of all the projects you've worked on so far, what was your most challenging project?
The most challenging maybe was a trip to Russia. So the trip was very hard because it was just a camera guy, me, and the producer. And the producer wanted to save money, so he rented like an apartment from someone he knew in Germany, a girl, and she was renting out her grandma's flat in Russia to us to stay for 1 week. We arrived there by plane. During the flight, the whole plane, like the interior collapsed and walls coming down. It was a very nice start for the trip. And when we arrived there and went to this flat, we saw, okay, this is really looking like grandma's home there. How can I say this polite? Very dirty, very smelly. All you can think of, very not showing to strangers, like in an apartment like that. The cameraman threw up several times in the bathroom while brushing his teeth only because of the sink was so nasty. And I never took off my shoes when I was showering and everything. It was really nasty and dirty there and very not so nice. And it was in the midsummer, where there is only like 3 hours where the sun gets a bit like dimmed, but it doesn't get dark. So there was only 2 beds. Like one was for the cameraman, of course, because he had all the heavy shoulder lifting to do the whole day, and he was like an older person, so of course he got a bed. But it was like a 3-part mattress. It wasn't even very good. And the producer also got a bed, and I was lying on a kind of a sun chair, like a really flat sun chair. That was my resting for 1 week. So everybody didn't get sleep there for 1 week. Maybe like an hour, like closing the eyes and drifting a bit away, but no real sleep. So imagine being in Russia, doing really hard work and long days because the sun doesn't get down. It's always light. And you're going to a shitty apartment you don't like. It's very disgusting. And you're getting like an hour of sleep for 1 week. So this was very hard. But St. Petersburg was very pretty, but also very contrasts of poor and rich. For instance, we were invited by the mayor of St. Petersburg for a dinner. We were going to a restaurant, like where the steak was like costing like $80 a steak. And they had like lighting on the ceiling that was imported from America, like $10,000 a candle or what. And the next house close to this restaurant was falling apart. The contrast is very, very big at the time there. Everything is nice, and you turn your head and look like 10 meters or 100 feet away, and everything was like rubbish and burned out cars and stuff like that. So very contrasted.
Okay. Well, out of all the projects you've worked on so far, what's been your favorite one?
I like not so much like projects, but I like the work I have to do there. So my favorite projects are these ones where I have to hide mics, where I maybe do some work with actors or presenters, where I record the sound, where it's more like of a film or movie set and not too much like ENG television work. So I prefer this because it's more challenging. And yeah, that's just what I like. And I like projects that are more like in this type of category in general.
All right. Now, did you have any mentors along the way that kind of helped you get started?
No, I did everything by myself. I had this education from sound, so I knew a mixer, like basic setups. What is a mixer? I knew how to run a Neve console. So everything from a Neve console, I downgraded and set it to like an SQN4 or sound device. Like signal flow is signal flow, There's an input, there's a mixer, there's EQs. Okay, there's no EQs on ENG, but it's always the same, basically. So I knew everything, and then I adapted to TV work, and I did everything by trial and error, because not so much error, because if you're having if you're doing too much errors, nobody's going to hire you. So I was also always very reliable, a sound guy, that gave me always the next job. Because every job I get is by recommendation. Somebody vouch for you, so you get the next job. It's not like you have running an ad, or you are not on some platform like sometimes like with Production Hub and stuff like that. This is not happening here in Germany. So you have your phone number. You don't have to change your phone number for like 10 years. So it goes around and you get jobs if you're good. Well, people like you.
Mm. Now, you had mentioned originally that you would just put the mic on the outside, but now you're hiding mics more often. What expendables do you like to use?
This started like maybe 3 years ago that companies required hidden mics here in Germany. So we are like far behind of you, like when it comes to hiding. So I researched a lot on the internet and tried to get tips and clues and how it's made. And when you begin, you always fight these rustles from everywhere, and you don't know what to do and what's best. And you don't have much time to experiment with different settings because everybody's waiting for you. Waiting on sound here too in Germany. So I researched a lot on the internet, and like JW Sound, on your podcast, of course, helped also a lot. And I found this company in England called Ursa. So I started to buy some of their products and saw some videos, and I ended up using like the mini mounts from the Ursa. I have it for different microphones because I don't know what microphones I use in the kit that I get to do the job the next day. So I have a lot of them, we have a variety, and I have hider mics. I get like 90% covered with these tubes. I have also DPA concealers. They work very good with the Sennheiser MK2 microphone. That's also one that I had to use a lot, and I'm very happy with them.
All right, and our big question is, what was your worst on-set experience? And other than the one in Russia?
My worst experience, a top 4, like I would like to say, top 4 worst experience. So the baddest one and kind of dangerous also was when I was shooting like for an animal show, and they were covering a story in Italy where like the mafia is running animal shelters, and they get paid per animal from the state. So they try to keep as many animals in the shelter to get the most money out of it. So we were like doing a little bit of undercover and doing like open camera work there. And in the end, there was like a confrontation, and this didn't go well for us. They started to have a fight, and I was like using my boom pole just like to protect the camera from some angry man, and some people of the team also get some punches. So we left there very quickly and called the police, and the people from the animal shelter were following us to like some parking place, and the police arrived. And when the police arrived, the people from the animal shelters, the supposed mafia people, start smoking cigarettes with the police. So then we thought, okay, this is not going to end well for us. So I put out the disc out of the camera and hid it in the seats in the car so nobody can find it and can like request the material we were shooting. And I put a new fresh disc in the camera just to give it away if we ask for it. But then at the end, when the police arrived, everything calmed down and everybody got a little bit relaxed more, and then we could leave later. But this was very a dangerous situation because there really was a big fight, and it came out of the blue. So we weren't prepared really for that. So the other thing I got in mind was like happened last year to me. I was booked for a shoot that would be like a making of for a movie, and we should do like a home story of one of the actors, and he was living in London. So we all should meet at the airport to fly over to London for 2-day shoot. And on the highway to the airport, there was like an accident, and the highway got closed. So I was trapped in my car in this highway stop, and like for 2 hours, and I missed my flight, and I missed the shoot. That was very bad. Yeah, and then there was a funny incident was when we had shooting also like an animal show, and there was a presenter, and she was having a wireless microphone on her, and this was before we had any Ursa straps or other straps for wireless transmitters. So she was going to the toilet and later came back, like having her transmitter and everything just holding by the mic cable, and said, "I'm sorry, but I dumped it in the toilet and I even peed on it." And I said, "Oh, nice, thank you." So I had to wash the whole transmitter and everything in distilled water and let it dry, and the next day everything would fire up again. It was nice.
Oh, that's good. It still worked.
Yeah. And then another incident was also like a little shocker for me, was when the cameraman arrived to shoot, and he should bring the whole audio equipment, and he forgot his mixer bag at home, and so I only had like a wireless system, like a G3, and had a recorder, like a Zoom recorder, like an H4. So so this was everything I had for the shoot, and a boom pole. So I had to use all the cables and all the adapters I had to have on myself. Sometimes I bring stuff to the gig too, and I put everything together and try to set up something that I could work for the day. And in the end, it worked, and the cameraman was very happy and impressed, and hired me since that day every time he was on a shoot. So that was nice.
If you could go back 20 years and start all over, what would you do different?
If I would start again, I would try to do it from a different side. I would try to get into film and movie production very early, because in Germany it's like you can't cross over. Like if you're a TV guy, you can't cross over to movie. The movie guys all met in their film schools. They have like connections there. Like the director gets to know the cameraman, and the cameraman gets to know the sound guy, and then they all grew up in their careers and stay together. So it's not very easy to cross over in this movie world. It's like a different compartment, or it's like closed. And the movie work is, from my perspective now, the movie work is more interesting. So maybe I have considered maybe to do movie work instead of television. But now I'm very happy with my career. I'm happy that television gets more demanding sound-wise. I like it. But if I could go back, then I would do it. Maybe change to movie more.
Well, how has the business changed since you started?
The business has changed very much, because the demands for the job, what you have to do, have risen very much. When I started, you had to be like helping cameraman, setting up light, and doing sound, and like being a little team. But now it's like you're doing everything. You even have, sometimes there are people asking, do you fly drone? You have to fly drone now as a camera assistant or like a sound guy, and I don't fly drones. I don't do that. And you have to use GoPros, you have to do like tentacles, you have to do like so much. You have to operate gimbals, sometimes second camera. So the demand is very high now for my job, but the payment doesn't increase like that, It's not like matching.
Well, Mike, as we kind of start to wrap things up, do you have any final words of wisdom you want to share?
If you really like to get in this job, you have to be prepared to do a lot of work. Always go the extra mile. If you're not a person that likes to be around other persons, likes to communicate to total strangers every day, if you're not socially very strong, then this job is not for you. So this is the first thing you have to bring on the table before any experience in sound or everything. If you're not a people guy, a people person, don't do it. Because you have to build a team very quickly in my job. Like I met people for the first time. Maybe I don't see them again, but we have to be a team for the day. So we have to work like we are like know each other for years. This is the ideal. So you have to be a people person.
Yeah, I like that. Well, if people wanted to ask you questions or reach out, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
You can hit me up at Instagram, Mike with a Mike account. You can find me there and send me questions or whatever. I'm happy to answer and have a chat.
All right. I want to say thanks to Mike Gillig for being on the show today.
Thank you, Michael. It was a real pleasure.
And don't forget, for a limited time, Sound Devices is offering 25% off all MixPre plugins, including the Ambisonics, Musician, and the Mix Assist plugin. Just visit sounddevices.com and use promo code LocationSoundPodcast at checkout to get your discount. And I'd like to say thanks to everyone for listening. If you have questions or would like us to discuss a particular topic, email us at locationsoundpodcast@gmail.com. Please subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. We're available on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, remember, sound is half the picture.